Good evening. So last time we continued with looking at the presentation here on dependent arising, and we spoke about all phenomena, all existence. They are dependent arisings. They are dependent, for example, on causes and conditions. But there are no phenomena that exist that are not dependent arisings. There are no phenomena that are inherently existent. None whatsoever. So if everything that exists is a dependent arising, then just like then that is also the case with the happiness that we wish for, as well as the suffering that we wish to eliminate, to be removed from. So happiness is also dependent arising, and the elimination of suffering, this too is a dependent arising. So then what are the causes that we need to accumulate so as to achieve happiness? Well, these are the causes that we should be accumulating in our meditation each day, and then with that motivation, engage in our activities for the day. So when we wake up in the morning, we take refuge, and we generate the firm commitment that we won't harm anyone today. We won't act or speak in a way that brings harm to others, and we'll guard our mind, subdue our mind to ensure we don't bring harm to others. And moreover, others wanting to experience happiness and be freed of suffering just like us, then whenever the opportunity comes, within the confines of our ability, we will try to be of benefit to others. And we develop that wish further, this understanding that others wanting to experience only happiness and be freed of suffering just like ourselves, and generate the wish, may that be so. And we develop this further, giving rise to the minds of love and compassion, and we develop them to the point where we take responsibility for others achieving a state of happiness, for others being separated from suffering. We take that as our individual responsibility. And having given rise to this mind of special intention, we then commit to striving to become the skilled guide who can actually lead beings to a state freed of suffering. We commit to strive for Buddhahood. And this is how we give rise to the mind of bodhicitta. And then the next step of the meditation is to cultivate the minds of a bodhisattva, in other words, the 6 perfections of generosity and ethical conduct, patience, choice, perseverance, concentration, and wisdom. So this is the meditation to engage in the morning. And through engaging this meditation, we're cultivating the causes for happiness. And likewise, throughout the day, when we engage in activities under the influence of this motivation, we continue to create the causes for happiness. That brings us now to the 15th verse. Therefore, you taught no phenomenon exists except for what is dependently arisen, and no phenomenon exists except for what is empty of inherent existence. Den idé kosong ini kuna karanti yopa takpa de koli angkia sumram. Yopa takpa konso konso tempa trupare konso chikla. Let's look then at the first two lines here. Therefore, you taught no phenomenon exists except for what is dependently arisen. This first word, therefore, this shows a reason. And the reason that it's referring to is what we have covered previously, that all phenomena, every existent, is a dependent arising. If it's a compounded phenomenon or an impermanent phenomenon, these are synonyms. A compounded phenomenon or an impermanent phenomenon, then it is dependent on causes and conditions. If it is a non-compounded phenomenon or its synonym and a permanent phenomenon, then it arises one independent on another. So therefore, all phenomena that exist, whether impermanent or permanent or compounded or uncompounded, these are dependent arisings, either dependent on causes and conditions or dependent one on the other. Everything that exists, therefore, is a dependent arising. So that's what this term therefore refers to. Moreover, if something is a dependent arising, it means that it is arising in one of these two ways, either dependent on causes and conditions or dependent one on the other, as we've just said. So what that means is everything that exists is a dependent arising, which means it's not independent. Nothing can be independent, which is the opposite, the contrary to a dependent arising. What would be something that was independent? That would be something that is inherently existent. Whereas nothing is inherently existent, or a synonym, nothing is independent. Everything that exists is a dependent arising in one of those two ways. If it's in one of those two ways, dependent on causes and conditions, or dependent one on the other. So the meaning then of therefore is that everything that exists is a dependent arising. Nothing exists inherently, because that would be contrary to dependent arising. Or if we don't say inherently, we can say independent. If everything that exists is a dependent arising, nothing can exist that is independent. And to summarize what has just been said, just to try and make this terminology very clear, is that all phenomena, so everything that exists, all phenomena, are dependent or are dependent arising. So these would be synonyms. There is nothing that is independent. So everything that exists is dependent. Therefore, that necessarily means there is nothing that exists that is independent. And to put dependence in another, phrase it in a different way, everything that exists is dependent or dependent arising, which means it's dependent on something other than itself. And what is the importance of that, of expressing it in this way? If something were independent, it would not be dependent on anything other than itself. If something were independent, it would be inherently existent. It would exist by way of its own nature, so more synonyms. If it was inherently existent, it would exist by way of its own nature. It would be self-existent. So there's nothing that is self-existent or independent, because everything that exists, whether it's a permanent phenomenon or an impermanent phenomenon, is a dependent arising. So everything that exists is a dependent arising, which means it is not inherently existent. And if you search that phenomenon for any inherent existence, you'll see that it is void of inherent existence, empty of inherent existence. And that is the meaning of the term emptiness. What is a phenomenon empty of? It's empty of inherent existence, empty of self-existence. It's empty of being independent, because it's a dependent arising. And the third line in the Tibetan, the fourth verse, it's just this bit: what is empty of inherent, or is empty of inherent existence? So that's the third line in the Tibetan, the fourth verse, is empty of inherent existence. So here, what he's saying is that there's nothing that exists except for what, everything that exists is empty of inherent existence. There is nothing that exists that is not empty of inherent existence. There is nothing at all, not the slightest, smallest, or least or most powerful phenomenon that exists that is inherently existent. Everything that is, every existent is empty of inherent existence. Or to use a synonym, it's empty of being independent. And rather, so this then goes with what we have just said in the previous two lines. Everything that exists is a dependent arising, is dependent. There's nothing that exists that's independent. Everything that exists is dependent or a dependent arising, and therefore empty of inherent existence. It's nothing that exists, nothing at all that is inherently existent. So the meaning in brief of this verse, because hearing it, especially if you haven't heard this presentation up to now, it's a lot of terminology sounding a little strange, but it's really saying just two things, but it's being said in many different ways. So what means that every phenomenon, so everything that exists, is whether it's something that's so phenomenon or existence can be divided into two, that's which are impermanent, and that's those that are permanent. So all of these existence, everything that exists, are dependent or are dependent arisings. They are dependent on something other than themselves. So they are dependent either on causes and conditions and or dependent on other. So what this means, if everything is dependent, everything that exists is dependent, there is nothing that is independent. If something were independent, that would mean it would be inherently existent. Which means it would exist by its own nature, by its self-nature. It wouldn't be dependent on anything else. So that's the meaning of inherent existence, is that it would exist by way of its own inherent nature, its own self-nature. And that is contrary to being dependent on something else. It's much clearer if we say everything that exists is independent, therefore there's nothing that is, everything that exists is dependent, so therefore there is nothing that's independent. So that's very clear. But then just to get the terminology right, so what does it mean if it is independent? It means it would exist by its own self-nature, not dependent on anything else. It would exist by its way of its own inherent nature. So that is the meaning of this verse. And what we have now in our first line, you taught, this was taught by Buddha Shakyamuni.
Ranging to nobody said, Dondala, Ranging to said, then Ranging to Lavin, within the city, Ranging to Geshe, and some like Karacha or Lavna, Ranging to Lavin, the Nishi, Kalaya, Motoba, Yudan, Cheshire, Kalaya, Mot, Koromoni, drew the Hench Buore. The Nishi Yovana and the Nichi Ranging to
Let's again look at this term, empty of inherent existence. So what does to understand what empty of inherent existence is, then we need to understand what inherent existence means. So we hear this term repeatedly. We've been hearing it over these many weekends on this text, and it will keep coming up. So if a phenomenon were to exist inherently, how would that appear to your mind? Or if a phenomena appears, let's put it this way, if a phenomena appears to your mind as being inherently existent or self-existent, how does that appear to your mind? It appears to be independent. It appears not to be dependent on anything else. It appears not to be dependent on causes and conditions. In other words, it appears to be independent. That is the meaning of this term inherent existence or self-existent. It means that when a phenomena appears to the mind as being inherently existent, it appears to be independent of anything else, such as causes and conditions.
Kolia Jin Che, Shomara, Jin Che, when they go you are Jin Che, and then she's on Koron Tambo, condition at Tagala, like Mado, and then Yardroy or Madudroy, mother, you are taking a marriage for them.
So if something were independent or inherently existent, so the way the phenomenon appears is as if it were independent or inherently existent. So what does that mean? So if something is independent, it means whatever conditions it encounters, those conditions couldn't have an impact on it because it's independent of causes. It's independent of conditions. So these causes and conditions, or something other than itself, one dependent on the other, something other than itself, couldn't have an impact on it. So that means if something is inherently existent or dependent, whatever conditions it encounters, it couldn't change. And if not changing, it means it can't develop, it can't improve, it can't degenerate, it can't age or weaken. It can't change at all. No matter what conditions it encounters, those conditions couldn't impact on this inherently existent phenomenon, this independent phenomenon, because it's not dependent on anything. So that's the meaning of something being independent or inherently existent. If you've been hearing this presentation many times, then hopefully this is what this meaning is what appears to your mind or arises in your mind when you hear the term inherent existence. If you're new to this term, then don't worry, through hearing it many times, you'll become familiar with the terminology, and just hearing the term inherent existence, this meaning of something being independent, that cannot be impacted on by anything either, outside of it, because it exists by its own self-nature, that meaning will naturally arise in your mind. So the partner term that goes a lot with inherent existence is emptiness of inherent existence. So adding this term emptiness, what does that mean? It means that phenomena is empty or devoid of being inherently existent. So whatever phenomenon one is investigating, if when one comes to see that it is not inherently existent, it is void or empty of inherent existence. And so that's what this emptiness of inherent existence means, the lack of or void of inherent existence. And if something then is not inherently existent, that, to use the synonym, it's not independent, that means it is dependent. What is it dependent on? Either or, dependent on causes and conditions, or dependent on other, dependent one thing on the other. Therefore, if a phenomenon that is empty of inherent existence, this means it is dependent, which means it can change. The causes and conditions that it encounters can impact on it. It can develop, it can improve, it can weaken, it can degenerate, it can be eliminated. So that is a phenomenon that is dependent, is impacted on by other, is impacted on by causes and conditions, and therefore will change. So this is then the relationship as well between emptiness of inherent existence and dependent arising. Every phenomenon that exists is a dependent arising, either on causes and conditions, or dependent one thing, either or, dependent one on the other. And if that is the case, if it is dependent, it is not independent. And that means it's not inherently existent. It's empty of being inherent existent. So that's how these two terms work together. Especially if you're getting used to this term, inherent existence, think of it as something being independent, because that is clearly a contrary term to dependent, as independent arising. Whatever phenomenon appears to our mind, or all phenomena that appear to our mind, how do they appear? They appear as being inherently existent. Everything that appears to our mind appears as being inherently existent. Saying that whatever phenomena appears to our mind appears as being inherently existent. Well, let's look at this. Let's take the object right in front of me, this table. So if I think about this table, if I think, how does it appear to my mind? It appears to my mind as being inherently existent. So every phenomenon that appears to our mind appears as inherently existent. This table is a phenomenon, it's an existence. So therefore, it appears to my mind as being inherently existent. Or to use another synonym, it appears to my mind as being independent. It appears to my mind as being not dependent on anything at all, not dependent on causes and conditions or one thing on the other, but rather it appears to be self-established or inherently existent, or established by way of its own characteristics. That's how this phenomenon, the table, like every other phenomenon, appears to us.
Diniki Danga, Dugi, Jossor, Joseph, Social Nine, the Kala, Madio, Rangun, Juba, Nangore, Chisangan, Nawa, Hashin, Diniki Joseph, God who's by Shimju Sheva and the Jeva that did Gangi in the Joseph, the Pangladis, or with the Joseph Gangpades. It's not those by Yawachin, do say Wayne, Dine, Narzon, Nawa, Hashin Kala, Madio, Rangun, Juti, Joseph, Yamare, yeah, didn't do by J. 제바치네 강이 되네요. 아니 그 차시 가지 되네요. 아니 강에마도 랑문도 주도 쪽 디데다서 유네니에만 제가 두스 제바치네 가야 많이 동상으로지 통화도 랑신이 주비기 동바래 시월데.
The table then, being an existent, being a phenomenon, appears as if it is independent. It appears as if it exists by way of its own characteristics, its own nature. So then we need to see if it does exist in this way, if it exists in the way that it appears, because if it is something that is self-existent, it should be findable in this way. And if we go through, we search for this self-existent table in the same way as we've discussed in previous weeks. We look in the parts and the collection of the parts. So we look in the top, the tabletop, and we won't find the table there. And then we look in the other parts, such as the legs, and we don't find this inherently existent table there either. And then we see, no matter where we analyze, we cannot find a self-existent table. Despite this table appearing to us to be independent, we cannot find this independent table. Therefore, it's empty of being independent or empty of inherent existence because it doesn't exist in the way that it appears. And this then brings us to an understanding of emptiness, an arisal of emptiness to our mind, that the table does not exist in the way that it appears. It's empty of existing the way that it appears. It's empty of being inherently existent. Sorry, my coughing, this too is a dependence arising. Whether I have a voice to teach tonight or not, this is also a dependence arising.
Denegi chashi da yana ma u chobi choba jilia pa le pa da ba zemi tu jesa chashi sing pang le da gang ba denegi ma u ji zom ne denegi de choba jile de ne an choba ji du du de ne choba de pa jokse pa le da ba zemi sha jesa jokse se di yo re sta rang lu ngwe ne ju ba di yo ma re me ba yin ne jokse de ya an le pa da ba zemi xian ji le de ne
So looking at the first step in the meditation, again, as we've heard in previous weeks many times, we hear it's usually in relation to the self, but it's the same process here with the table. How does the object appear to the mind? It appears to be inherently existent. If it is inherently existent, it should be findable in that way, findable through analysis. So we engage in analysis and we look in the various parts and we don't find the table at all, and we come to an understanding that it doesn't exist in the way that it appears. So therefore it doesn't exist inherently, which is the way that it appears. Therefore it's empty of inherent existence. But does that mean the table doesn't exist at all? This table here? No, of course. There is a table here. So we can't say it doesn't exist at all, but we've just looked and we found no table. So what that means is the way the table appears to our mind as inherently existent, such a table does not exist. Rather, if we take a collection of the parts, the table legs, the table top, we put them together, and then a mind imputes table onto this basis, there's a table. So again, the table does not exist in the way that appears to our mind. So there's no inherently existent table, because we investigated, we didn't find it. So we came to understand that the table is empty of being inherently existent, because all we found was emptiness. But that doesn't mean the table doesn't exist at all, because when the parts are collected into something that can function as a table, the mind imputes table onto this basis, there's the table. But that table then is not an inherently existent table, because that we've already negated, we've refuted this inherently existent table. Rather, that table is dependent on parts being collected and dependent on one on the other, or to use another term, dependent on imputation by mind. So therefore we come to see that the table in one way does not exist, but in the other way we can say it does. Then the Jawa de Kola de Yanka Sunguklang, Jawa Je.
That's all you need. Can't let more around when you do by the to send a twin to by the shas. She's not just the deacon, like just the jiggy down the done a Vietnam shot down, and the good Vietnam shot, Niga shot. It's not the names are Joseti, Rashi, good again, dinner, Joari, Joseph dinner, Joari, love to Joseti, Temple to by dance, the Joseti, can't let more around when you do by the car. June love you, Joseti that. 랑문도 주바다 집에 채나 동사 차바래데 이내 매와 말에 현지를 되네 용구도 중세에 되네 주도 하고도 그래지래 제가 딱다가 최다 이거 세요래서電用 지디게
Det är oskalkylatin i login. Okay, so it's a fair amount here. So I just need to rewind a little bit here to see where we started. The way the table appears to us, or the way any phenomenon such as this table appears to my mind, our mind, is it appears to be inherently existent, which means it appears to be independent. So this means, so if we believe that it exists in this way, this is called the extreme of eternalism, or the extreme of existence. So if we believe that something exists in the way that it appears as inherently, then this is believing in the extreme of eternalism, or the extreme of existence. Similarly, if one investigates and looks for the inherently existent objects and comes to find it doesn't exist in the way that it appears, it's empty of existing in that way, and then thinks it's non-existent, it doesn't exist at all, then one has fallen into the second extreme, the extreme of nihilism, or the extreme of non-existence. This is where something that does actually exist, you think, in your analysis, you come to think, it doesn't exist at all. And then this is the extreme of nihilism, or the extreme of non-existent existence. But as we've seen, the table is a dependent arising. It's dependent on many causes coming together, parts coming together, and imputation by mind. So therefore, being a dependent arising, recognizing that the table is a dependent arising, recognizing this eliminates the extreme of eternalism, or the extreme of existence, because you see that the table is dependent. And in the term dependent arising, here's the word dependent. You see, by seeing or understanding that the table is a dependent arising, dependent on causes, dependent on parts, dependent on imputation by mind, you know the table is not self-existent, but dependent, and this eliminates the extreme of eternalism, or the extreme of existence. Then when you investigate, and you see that the table, or furthermore, when one investigates and you see that the table is empty of inherent existence, it's empty of being independent, but it still arises, and this is the arise, independent arising, but still arises independence on imputation by mind. This eliminates the extreme of nihilism. Because you've investigated and you see the phenomenon is empty of an inherent existence. But you understand that through imputation by mind, there is an object. The object arises, and this is then the meaning of the term arise in the term dependent arising. So this, if one's understanding then has both of these aspects, then when you realize dependence arising, you eliminate the extreme of eternalism, and as well as eliminate the extreme of nihilism. Or, to put it another way, one prevents oneself from falling into the extreme of existence, or falling into the extreme of non-existence. And with this correct understanding, phenomena can function. Phenomena can still be impacted by causes and conditions, and they can impact on other phenomena. So therefore, through understanding dependent arising, in this way, seeing the harmony between dependent arising and emptiness, one can understand how phenomena can be empty of inherent existence, but still function, can still perform action.
상유 주면 되게 최간대시나 땡진 저 중원에 송샤스 안에 최간대시나 랑싱의 주변 동발에 송샤마도 랑싱 주변 여러 균의 송미도스 자 최근에 랑싱 주변 동발에 나 인비 김자가서 최근에 지나 시행지 뛰는 주변에 송샤스 제가 내내게 상여 점는 되기 뱀 맛에 약고 송샤스 이내 당하는 저 한모고 지하는 소리야 디기 노주 친구 채고 제가 내내 장한주야 디기 상여 점는 되기 송샤기 약고 시고 송겨데 아 저기야 델야 삼납다 상여 점는 송바 나신 델야가 저기 삼납 제바지 냠는 제디 계친부레스 제가 내내게 상여 송제비 덴디기 남자들 삼 다바이나 소송하는 소리야 아니 저기 시행이야 안 잠바다 자와 계야당 안 시행이야 판별섬 계야 안 뒤슈 친구들에서 시행이야 판별섬 기도를 잠바다 자와 기도를
예 also tenjo hegi kola mampo samna deni also tenjo
섬 다바이나 디톤에 시행이야 잠바다 자와 기도를 나 덴디고는 섬다 공ገብ도 소수기 용모디게 빵제 안데 탈바다 탐지기 먹고 봐 투구레스 제네 연장하는 소리야 덴디고 섬당고에 예침부레샤디 아주 섬당구두스 델리아 냠는 제구두스 덴제르미 지기 등한 소리야 납제 송고로다
Why has Lama Tsongkhapa Rinpoche composed this verse? What is the advice contained within this verse for us? So firstly, all phenomena or all existence, everything that exists, are dependent arising. All phenomena, everything that exists, are also empty of inherent existence. No exception. Everything that exists is a dependent arising and empty of inherent existence. But this is something that we don't know, we haven't come to realize. Therefore, we need to reflect on this. We need to investigate in the way that has been briefly described tonight. We need to include this in our meditation practice. And we need to do it repeatedly over a sustained period. And if we do so, our understanding will develop, it will deepen, and it will start to have a profound impact on us. It will have an impact in a number of ways. One being, it will weaken the strength of our afflicted minds and lead to the eventual elimination of all our destructive emotions and enable us to attain liberation from suffering. Moreover, it will also lead to the strengthening of our love and our compassion for others. So therefore, this important advice was given to us by Geshe Rinpoche.
덴지기 남자 삼다지 냠내진 누가 세야디 세게 탑람 약쇼디 상이 줌내디 손시비 덴지기 남자다 라시 마루가 손시 디레 제사 딩아 좀 냠내지 그래서
And to express Geshe Rinpoche's motivation then in a simpler way, all of us want to experience only happiness and be completely free from suffering, difficulties and problems. And if you want to experience happiness, happiness itself is a dependent arising, it's a mind, it's a dependent arising, and therefore it arises in dependence on causes being accumulated. The best way to accumulate these causes is through dependent arising. Likewise, wanting to be free of suffering, this then, to eliminate suffering, this is also achieved through practicing the method of dependent arising. So through engaging in this supreme of methods, that of the meditation dependent arising, we will achieve our deepest wish of experiencing happiness and eliminating suffering.
아주 장시 연대로 쇼로 이기 장교다 안에 가리네 소소기 다 소소기 이기로 장원 다 된데 삼당 거라 이게 이기로 롭종으로 이기 뒤신 거라 로신 거라 이기 신거 롭종 신거 소소라랑 롭종 가르신 ben에 신교 지어 받아 디삼다징에 롭종 신교디 신기도 다 신교디 가르 중월에라 이 장와래 때네 신과래서 당에 장하라 장신과 ngala la kan chi me na ani kan chi chang bo le chi sa mi xian da chi ngala ye la ba le la chi ne ni xian gi ngala ye la chi ni nge xin li chi yo le xia si chi sa xian gi la ba di ya wu chung xia da so su gi ya wu cha ye gi yu dan jian cha lo mi la kan di yin ma so na so la kan di so ya so su gi yan dian xin ye di le ko pan duo xie lo da pan duo xie chi sa xian gi ngala ye la chi nge xin bo le chi sa ko la kan di ngala ye 판도 중시하스 이 야구 중시하스 그런 말에 판도 중 배야구를 해서면도 아니除了 판도 중에는 파르에 이제什么生活起来后来판도主要的什么当我的근데 중세되네 근데 내가 저기 다되네什么다면은 아 저기 현대 중계다 한 소수게 답변에 사야 동야 regret 게 가서什么当아니 만족이 니 사야 동야의 총관의 뇌를 해야다 한 총관의 뇌의 가원 때문에 신분이야 되는 신바드는 깔려지 현지 신비를 깔려지 깔려. 건주의 깔려잡 한 총비의 총잡 수종 행아 뉴에서라서. 세상 안에서 자유동의 류초에 된다라. 자유동의 제발. 이 용야지 레갈레간이 제발. 진짜 된데 좀 뭐지 레갈레간 제발. 진짜 제도 차상 랑기 소유통의 야고 용야래 튕기 로고지고 봐. 진짜 된데 신바 레갈레간이 깔 건주의 깔려지고 레갈레야지. 당 안에 판도하셨는데 건조에 쏠도 판도 봤삼 동에도 안 어디 인자 팔에 안 판도 제고래서 비게 팔에 판심지 안주게 되네기 때문에 삼 다와이나 팔에 판도 제게 삼로디 레고
The advice from Chairman Pichet in this verse, then, is that we need to reflect on dependent arising to achieve happiness, to eliminate suffering. Then how can we go about this? So an easy way to start is to think about whatever good qualities we have. So I'm sure everyone in this room, you have you are highly literate and numerate. So these are skills that you have, but these weren't skills that you just achieved. Rather, you trained in these, you studied these, you practiced these skills, and in this way, you've come to this point now where you're highly literate, highly numerate. But to get to that point, it wasn't just something that you yourself did, but you relied on a teacher. Probably relied on several teachers. So the teacher, from teaching you, that is a cause, as well as your own efforts and endeavors, your parents' encouragement. These are all causes that came together to lead to the result of numeracy and literacy. And this will be the case for whatever other good qualities that you have, whether they are skills showable in the world or personality traits. These one develops independence on causes and conditions, independence on others. When we're seeing that, so this is an easy way that we can understand dependency. And we should follow this then with a recognition of the kindness of those who have enabled us to develop the qualities of numeracy, literacy, and our other good qualities. And recognizing their good quality, recognizing their kindness, if we think about this deeply, a wish will arise within us to repay that kindness. Likewise, if we think about the material possessions that we have, or the food that we eat and enjoy. So this food, none of us are self-sufficient. We don't grow all our own food. We buy our food in the supermarket. This has been grown by farmers and processed in various places and transported. In other words, many people endured a lot of problems. And if you just think about the difficulties farmers endure, some of you may have experience of farming, otherwise we see this on the television. Sometimes it's they're in drought, other times they're flooding, sometimes it's really cold and it's too cold, sometimes it's too hot. They endure many problems, and they endure these problems, but they persevere through these problems, resulting in us being easily able to buy a wide variety of food. So here, the first point is we're reflecting on dependency, that in dependence on others, we have our food to eat. We have these various skills. And then we reflect on the kindness of the other people, the farmer and the workers and all those involved with the whole food chain to get as far as we can easily go into a shop and buy food. We reflect on their kindness, and if we reflect in some detail on their kindness, a natural wish to repay that will arise within us.
그래서 얘네 연장 안쪽에 판도 용서 댄서디 안쪽 파 야고 지어가디 딱고 야고 지어가디 예치 못 채고 봐. 안내 안쪽 야지 개화로 사베네. 지 개화사에 현실에 뛰는 개화사고도 와. 야나 지 최중이나 라마지를 뛰는 년지 라마지 송와를 뛰는 마 최지 개화사고. 아직 말 현실에 교워지로 로고 제베네. 현실로 로고 제제 그 로고 제발을 뛰는 현지 여바는 될 뛰는 거 로고 제 될 뛰는 개화도 아주 세워 공부에는 현실의 뛰어내서 보고 그래. แต่初심 송부에는 해 현란 여바 지금이 삼 송요도 현실의 뛰어내서 송고 그래. 지금 아주 현면나初심 송야요 말을 세워 공부야요 말을 진배다요 말에 전다스메로. 매와서 저기初심이 냠는지야, 쇠배 냠는지야, 진배 냠는지야. 아니 지게 항주 최퇴 아니 예 공 냠는지야. 차서 현의 뛰어내 연구 봐지. 현의 뛰어내 연구부터 차상 디스 차상랑을야 디기 주야게 차긴 차고 봐. 진짜 차진 차와나 현세 마시다 야고래서 그든 침보래. 진짜 현에 그든 자야게. 되니게 된데 남자 삼다도 오다 현세 배 마스 소소리야 디기 주야야 차긴 차상 야고 쉬우래 차긴래샤. 진짜 현디게 빼면서 야고 소소로 고야래샤. 야고래샤. 진짜 되니자 대소만 빼면서 짜 침보래샤. 근데 되니 삼다도 현이 그든 침보이 봐 삼다. 다 게든 지금 삼다 따면서 출려야 게든 되는 채바이나 발에 야고 제고로 와서 제고로 와서 비sam도 레고 와 진짜 파티 된지야다 진수지야다 근데 이게 아니 소설이야 디기 주에 컨전 책이 주어다 발에다 소설 디기 야고 쉬우치는 소설 주 야고 쉬우치 발에 야고 맞는 야지 아주 저랑 말을 봐 출려 야고 쉬우치는 발에 야고 제고로 와 진짜 출려 디기 주에 책인 제바이나 팔에 콘솔레 디기가 나진 디기고 그래서 콘솔레 디기 주고 그래서 콘솔레 디기 이 주기 콘솔 디기 되면 내 지hin세 배섬로디 된지게 삼다 데니스리 두고 봐.
In the same way, we can reflect on how our food is a dependence arising, depends on the kindness of others. In the same way, we can reflect on all our material possessions, whether it's the clothes we wear, the home we live in, the possessions within that home. These all come about in dependence on others, dependence on causes and conditions, etc. And we can think then of the kindness of others. But this, of course, isn't only the case with outer phenomena, but also with inner phenomena, such as our own good qualities. But also the phenomenon of the virtue that we've accumulated. All the virtue that we have accumulated, this is also dependent on others. So, for example, we are dependent on a teacher to train us, to guide us, to impart knowledge, and to guide us in our spiritual development, as well as all those who enable the possibility of receiving that education or that training. So in terms then of our inner spiritual qualities, this clearly is dependent on others. But then all our study, all our reflection, all our meditation, this is dependent on others. And we can look at it from many different perspectives to see how these are dependent. We can only reflect if we have studied, etc. And furthermore, acting on our training and further developing our virtue, this is also dependent on the kindness of others. So if we have, for example, received teachings on generosity, and we've in dependence on the kindness of those that enable those teachings, we could receive these teachings. And in dependence on receiving those teachings, we could reflect on them, cultivate these minds within us. And when we act out those minds, we act under the influence of those minds, and we help others, we act in a beneficial way to others. If there was no one to help, we wouldn't be able to help those people. So therefore, being able to help those in need depends on others being in need. This, again, shows how through the kindness of others, we accumulate virtue. Similarly, if we received training in ethical conduct, so to be able to receive these teachings, it's dependent on the kindness of the teacher and all those who make the teachings possible. And then being able to reflect on those teachings depends on those teachings. Having cultivated a mind of ethics or a mind of restraint, being able to move through the world in an ethical way, a way that doesn't bring harm to others, is dependent on having others to refrain from harming. So again, in this way, through the virtue that we accumulate, through restraining our mind and not bringing harm to others, this is dependent on the kindness of others. And another clear illustration will be patience. Studying patience, hearing teachings on patience, studying it, reflecting on them, this is dependent on the kindness of others in the same way. And then putting that training into practice, this is also dependent on the kindness of others, in this case, the annoying person. So in this way we can see that all our inner good qualities and even the virtue that we accumulate, this is a dependent arising, dependent on causes, conditions, imputation, etc., but also dependent on the kindness of others. And this kindness of others is something that needs to be reflected on a deep level, so that the natural wish arises within us to repay that kindness, not just a mere recognition of others are kind to me, but the wish to repay that kindness. And this is something that we do already have some experience of in our own lives. When those people who do show us kindness, naturally, when we have the opportunity, we will show kindness back towards them. We hopefully don't take the kindness others directly show us for granted. But if we think through the subtler levels of dependency, we will then want to repay kindness to all.
Kaba mango, and the Burgi Kaba that the Nigi Mango, Yamnachi, Tadibardo, and Ma Gujinichi Kaba Yamnachi, two Yamnachi, and Laming out to Ya, Ganaching out to Yenurawa, Masi Yapore, the day sometime when do Chinan, Sosu Lama, the Kabi Kaba, and Gomulu, the Papa Tomela Sobata. In the Dumasan, German, the Pemas getting Timboresha, some beginning of the getting to each other, tending sometime.
Recognizing here that our inner good qualities, our virtue, the teachings that we've received, and thereby our ability to reflect on those teachings, this is all dependent on the kindness of others. And we can immediately then relate this to our own spiritual teachers. But this then, we should think, goes right back to the founder Buddha. And all the training over countless lifetimes that he engaged in order to eventually become a Buddha for the sake of others such as ourselves. And when he became a Buddha, he then, for the sake of others, shared his knowledge and his experience to all those around him who continue to share and keep this alive, passing the lineage of the teachings on through Manjushri and later to Nagarjuna, to Maitreya and later to Asanga, and many other great masters in India, onto Tibet and all this long lineage of masters in Tibet, right through to the present day, to our teachers in the present day. So we can then, in this way, reflect on the tremendous kindness of all these teachers. When one thinks in some repeatedly and in some detail in the way that I've just described, slowly it will have an impact on your mind, and you'll start to see all those around one have shown us tremendous kindness. Even if we're not aware of it, they are perhaps in direct ways, but certainly in indirect ways, showing us kindness, whether in this life or past lives. So in this way, we can use the reflection on dependent arising to develop our appreciation for the kindness of others, to make our mind much gentler and more spacious. But not all beings is this so evident. So how should one reflect when there are others who are very directly not showing us kindness? Perhaps someone breaks into our home and steals from us, or someone verbally abuses us, or even physically abuses us. So there's clearly a relationship of dependency here. They are making us poor through stealing from us, or they're causing us physical pain by hitting us, or maybe if they have an illness and it's contagious and now we also have it. So here's an example of dependency. But if we think about this person, we're not going to think of their tremendous kindness because they stole from us, or they passed on their illness, or they spoke to us in an inappropriate manner. So that the relationship of dependency is clear. But we're not going to be thinking that they're overly kind. In fact, we're probably going to be quite annoyed with them.
양제 삼다제 그가 쳐 담보 삼다데 가 교부 차송네 아 교부 차송 아 교부 차도 그 자랑이 쳐버렸어 지금 그 쳐버릴 때 내가 나 교부 차버렸어 지금 네가 뇌거렸어 지금 그 콜라 때 내가 교부 차버렸어 지금 콜라 때 내가 교부 차버서 그가 잘라 쳐버대 직도에 두고는 뭐데 간에 못되어 말했어 그래서 뛰고 버렸네 그 삼는 날에 니 잘라데 차고시고 버렸어 차고시고 기대었어 지금 내 잘라들 차과시고 깨져서 차바디게 라온 매바지는 이 미디에 잘라 쳐버렸어. 그래서 미디를 라온 민두스. 그래서는 차베게 상황 규칙인데 차바디 육체부터는 차베 상황도 규칙. 미를 라온 민두 미디를 아주 인지해서 그걸 인지해서 그걸 라온 녀모 배운기 대체샤서 봐. 이내게 삼다도 미디를 라시기 인지기야. 지상 걸 장제기야 이거래. 지상 잘라지 미지기는 나솔이야. 즉 이동으로 따베네. 당보 니도 다 홍안 나서시고 나서 가래. 고행하는 니도 당서. 삼 디섬 다제 현다 파마다면은 코로마 슈셰게요. 와다. 지상 디닉 삼다도 공한 니도 다래서. 가르치 니도 다래서. 양제파 고 니도 다야디 김천 가를 띵 걸 가를 때는 얘 당원에서 땡제 양제지 파 삼다면은 때 니도 다도 공할 코로사돼요. 지금 코로 슈슈 와서 코로 공행하는 얘도 다. 但美国人然后没都控制我们家的，控制本嘛是第一然后没吧，就所以呢，控制人呢，每天你都在制度下用。这其实快基本美国人然后没的影响，但是这个有了牛毛病的对下当控制个想法都双些，让先长嘛了，然后刚刚现在刚刚结果了，就是应届上面的那个上当的美国人然后没都牛毛病想法双下上，的那上当的电这个上当的没得了，那应届上面头过来。想把它这个认识什么的来头是吧？
So, if for example, someone does steal from you or defraud you, and you end up being poor thereafter, well, this is a relationship of dependency. That should be quite clear. But looking at it from the same perspective as we've described earlier, that understanding of dependency will not lead to a wish to repay the kindness of this thief. Rather, one is likely to get angry with this person. But it's still appropriate, even in unwanted situations, to use the reflection on dependence arising, but in a slightly different way. So this person then who has defrauded us perhaps, or stolen from us and left us poor, the way that we should think about dependence arising here is to reflect on their motivation, on their mental situation perhaps. So they experienced strong attachment or strong desire for our possessions, our wealth. And with this strong desire for our wealth, they stole from us. So this person didn't steal from us with complete freedom. Rather, this person was acting in a way that could be expressed as being enslaved by this mind or controlled by this mind of attachment. It was this mind of attachment that led them to steal from us. So before they stole from us or they defrauded us, their mind was overcome by strong attachment or desire. So that means they were experiencing no mental peace, no happiness, because this affliction was strong within them, this destructive emotion was strong within them. They were suffering. Moreover, through stealing, they created non-virtue, and they will suffer again in the future through creating this non-virtue. So thinking in this way, for the suffering of this person whose mind was dominated by attachment and then later acted under it and created non-virtue, compassion for this suffering being will arise within us. So this is one illustration of how to effectively use the reflection on dependence arising to generate compassion for someone who does harm for us. And similarly, for when we encounter an experience that usually leads to the arisal of anger or its minds of its class, such as annoyance or frustration, if someone physically harms us or verbally abuses us, if we use the same reflection on dependence arising, we immediately become aware this person is acting in this way towards me due to having an afflicted mind, due to their mind being dominant by anger, and due to their mind being under the control of anger, they are speaking or acting in this way. They have no freedom. And being aware then that this person before you is suffering, and moreover, they're creating the causes for further suffering, compassion will arise for this being within us. So this is how one can effectively use the presentation on dependence arising to strengthen our minds of love and compassion in both this way as well as what was mentioned in the previous segment.
랑알이야 안에 지 유엔데다 예 랑기 규체라다 랑기 비체다 사야 동에 차상도 선직직리 때는 용어 섬다제 한 시엔 차상랑이야 랑기 디기 주에 기 책임 랑을 디기 주에电세 레샤 세사시엔 차상 진치보레 선비기 진제다 안 되니기 진치모자 다 파래 안데 진내 조기 세판도 주기 선비 섬다래 안 되니기 다 랑을 내가 기행적 중국이네 대수 차상 묘모고 상황도 송하지 다 대샤 공조 나게 디수기 공제 랑을 내가 기야다 강한테 책 아직 인지 다 되니기 저 샘전 차상이야 아주리 랑리네 공조랑 묘모게도 대샤게도 샤래 강한테야다 랑마기바 책도 공조리 되는 용 대사 인지야 선비게 되니기 샘전 되니 차상은 용하다 자나 선비게 섬게야다 되니기 샘전 디기래 디기 주나 선비게 잠바다 자와 인지 루스네 아주기 디링기 랍제디기 덴디기 삼다데 샹리아 진체모 임바다 데네 샹리아 판보 주기게 팬 주기세 삼보 자야 안에 데네기 덴제 삼다제 샹리아 잠바다 안제와 고미야디 안디링기 롭세디기 디양주 삼다데 랍제디레 다디기 데노 랍제디 아주기 요모데 세디 덴디기 삼다 세고자 디고데 야상이 쉬야셰로.
And furthermore, the reflection on dependence arising, this also has a further benefit of leading to the elimination of all our various afflicted minds, our destructive emotions. But our time is pretty much up for tonight, so we'll look at that tomorrow. So just to briefly summarize what we looked at this evening, is that through reflecting on how all our favorable circumstances, our possessions, and all the material conditions that we have in our life that are so good, as well as all our inner good qualities, and as well as our virtue, that all of these are dependent arisings, dependent on causes and conditions, imputation by mind, and on the kindness of others. And if we use this meditation then to reflect on the kindness of others to the point where we generate the wish to repay the kindness, we can then take it to the next step of wanting beings to only experience happiness. And this is the mind of love. So in this way, we can use the reflection on dependent arising to generate the mind of love, wanting others to experience only happiness. And then in terms of those who cause us harm, who relate to us in unwanted ways, reminding ourselves that they are doing so under the influence of afflicted minds such as attachment and anger and jealousy and pride. Seeing that this being before us right now, who too has a wish to be happy and free of suffering, is despite this wish, is acting in a way that compounds their suffering in the present moment and creating the causes for suffering in the future. This leads to the mind of compassion arising within us, which is the wish for beings to be freed of suffering. So in this way, reflecting on dependent arising leads to the strengthening of our mind of compassion. And that in brief is what we've looked at tonight. We looked in the second half of tonight, how to use the reflection on dependent arising to strengthen our minds of love and compassion. And then tomorrow, we'll look at how to use this reflection to eliminate all our own afflicted minds, our own minds, such as attachment, anger, jealousy, and pride. Can't we show you? I'm going to sing. So if you have some questions, then please do ask. Okay, then we'll finish. We'll take tomorrow. Thank you. Oh, Alan, did you have one? If you do, please ask. Yeah.
It was just about the commentary that the topic covered and the reverse privation and the forward privation.
Okay.
Do we have time to quickly go over that?
Sure. Die 공전낭로 공까지 지켜야 돼. 대콘소 제캡 랍성. 되니 제캡 유나 되니 도캡 유래. 되니 가리래 성로나.
다디 just 망고라 책으로
야면상이.
다변에 가지고 다디 딜레 라신 주요 말레스. 마루 문제가 생 덴제레라고 하자. 제사다 델리아 라신 다지고 그래서 다지 라신 주요 말에 덴제레라고. 지자지 제협라요도 덴제 있나 라시 마주가 인고아레스 이거에 제협세
The Jacob Yanka?
라시 마주가 인고구리에서 인고에 봐도 제협되다 도협라요도
Dorkyab Sena?
도협라다 덴제 있나 라시 주바디 많이 고구리에서 올라 라시 주바디 많이 고구리에서 다들 제협을 라시 마주가 인고구리라고 와 다 도협라요도 덴제 있나 라시 주바디 많이 고구리라고
Allez, Denis Konda di Jacob Yanka Sungahan?
덴제 있나 라시 마주가 인고구리에서
네.
라시 마주가 인고구리에서
네.
다 도협세디 덴제 있나 라시 주바디 많이 고구리에서 라시 주바디 많이 고구리에서
Silutini Chikpere Marebe.
지구를 덴제 라시 마주가 인고구리에서 라시 마주가 인고구리에서 세트 가서 라시 마주가 세트 라시 마주가 인고구리에서 제협 도협라도 라시 주바디 많이 고구리에서
Okay. Chikta Sangi Yakare. Silutini Chikpeni
가서
Kogebe.
라시 주바
Okay.
라시 주바레 라도 슈라 라시 주바데 라시 마주바레 라도 슈라 라시 주바데 마레라고 라시 주바데 마레라도 슈라 라시 마주바데 레라고
Okay. Konsa Sangi Okay. Tomorrow. Because I was hearing the same thing both ways, but it wasn't. But if I'm not hearing it, then it is. So tomorrow. Okay, thank you.